actually live. Yay! I, once again, forgot to turn off the furnace, so, as per usual, ERB. What are you doing? Sarah forgot to turn off the furnace? Shocking! Okay, so happy Wednesday. I know I don't normally stream on a Wednesday night, but like I said on the last stream, I want to get away from like strict schedule, not worrying about that so much. So other thing that I forgot to bring out here is another charger. I distinctly remember going in the house to grab one earlier, and then I guess I didn't do that. So also I want to check and make sure I'm not muted. Okay. You're welcome for the marvelous view of my table. Alright, sorry about that. Okay. So, I'm gonna grab a charger. BRB. So good. Okay. So, I have a messy table. So I wanted to try something different, and I realized I need to like change angles of things, but I'm gonna get to that in a second. I just want to make sure devices don't crap out on me. So, hi, how are you? Happy midweek. I can't believe almost another week is halfway done. Oh. Okay. I accidentally made my whatever. I just give up. I just give up. I don't even finish my thought. Jesus Christ, I cannot talk. I made my power strip pop yesterday, I think it was. I don't know. I have the lights plugged in. I have the Christmas lights plugged in. I have a heater down below, and I was like, I'm gonna use the iron because I was doing a shirt, and the thing popped, and I stupidly went over to the circus board and tried to find the breaker that was popped, but that's not what was popped because obviously the other lights in the garage were on, and I was just like, derp town. But anyway, I have a ring light set up. It's not on, but I have it behind me, behind you, in front of me. And so I want to see how that does lighting wise. I know that this angle is just really bad right now, and I'm distracted by how terrible this angle is right now. So what I need to do is get a spot over here to move the table easel that I have over there. So let's do that first. And let's like just throw everything on the floor. I'm gonna sneak up behind you. Creepy, but whatever. Oh, I don't know if I have an extra outlet. I'm gonna have to unplug one of my, did I say an extra outlet? An extra, you know what I mean. Or I can plug it in right here. That's not plugged. What? What? Oh, I see. Here, let's see if this overloads everything. Chance it. Oh no. Who doesn't want to be a part of the stream setup process? Like, I could have done this ahead of time, or, you know, you can just try to make out what I'm saying over all the creaking and stuff. All right, let's see where that lands. What do we think? Should I turn these off? It's pretty bright. I mean, the coloring is completely different. See how like scarily washed out that is. It's probably really bad. Also, glasses glare. Like ghostly. Oh no. Alright, we'll turn that back down. No. Alright, that's off. And we'll do that. Okay. Alright, we'll give that a try. Get rid of some of my crap. Tidy up my garbage. Actually, I might need this for something. I had an illustration that I started working on earlier. What does it look like if I turn this on? I also went live for like 40 seconds. I don't know how long it was. It was like a minute or so earlier today, and I was testing out, is it Streamlabs or whatever? I don't remember. That does nothing. I don't know what to do about how bad the lighting is. It could just be like the sharp contrast between my jumper and my skin, because I'm like pasty as hell. But anyway, I tested out the Streamlabs app, and it really added nothing to my stream, because I don't at this point want to spend $150 a year for a stream overlay. Like, I don't know. Maybe if my Twitch stream starts making money, I'll spend money on it, but right now it doesn't really make sense. So we will continue to have the janky stream. I feel like that makes sense for what I'm doing. And let's see. I was feeling like super talkative before I got on here. Like, I don't know how your mind operates, but I have extensive conversations with myself in my mind. And sometimes I think I tell like my husband things. Turns out I didn't. I just said it a lot in my head. Also, what time it is? What time it is? 5:52. Okay. Also, did I finish a single thought? I feel like I didn't. I feel like I talked about an illustration. I have squirrel brain right now, clearly. Okay, so I have an illustration that I wanted to work on tonight. I did not stream earlier because I just wasn't feeling it, and I'm trying to listen to that instinct, and if I don't feel like doing it, I'm not going to do it. But I feel like it now, so might as well jump on that feeling and do this. I want to do an illustration of, you probably can't see that because the light is shining through. I don't know, maybe you can see that. Basically, it's a molecule. It's folate, and I want to draw that with some colors I already had picked out. And it's going to be this color scheme. I guess you could see that, cool. And I'm trying to decide if I want to do it on this sort of thinner, it's charcoal paper, but it's much more delicate than I typically work on, and I don't work on charcoal paper that much. This is, I think, my first charcoal paper thing. This is the Strathmore charcoal, and it's 64 pound, so it doesn't really feel that heavy. It's not that thick. I'm used to like drawing on Bristol board or, you know, heavyweight paper like that. So I'm like trying to decide if I want to work on that thin of paper, if I want to work on something a little bit heavier. I have somewhere more of this stuff. This is, you probably won't be able to tell the texture in the camera. Maybe you can, but it's a linen embossed, I almost said fabric, paper, and I have it in black, forest green, burgundy, and somewhere I have some beige somewhere. I don't know where it is. So I'm debating whether I want to try and find that or just stick with this charcoal paper, because I do like the texture of the charcoal paper. There's a little bit of texture in the linen embossed paper, and I don't really want to use Bristol board because it's too smooth and it's not really the vibe I want to go for. So just trying to decide if I want to go this route for my final piece. And it's the sort of thing where I'm drawing it once and tracing it, so I can easily transfer it onto another sheet at another time. So, and I really feel like the beige charcoal, because this has multiple colors. There's beige, there's, I don't know if you can even see this. Light blue, sort of like a slate color. It's kind of like a cool steel, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. A little bit of a darker blue. And if you hear any music in the background, my husband is having a violin lesson shortly, so part of the reason why I'm out here. So if you hear anything, that's what it is. Alright, so then there's beige. Why am I going through all the colors? Nobody wants this. I don't know, maybe you do. It's like a brown color. And I guess I would call this like a dark seafoam, or like a, I don't know, I would call it a dark seafoam. Maybe they have actual color names on here. I don't know. Alright, so I have that to work on. And then the other thing I need to work on tonight, though I might put it off until after stream because it involves working on my iPad. I'm designing like a book cover for post on like Redbubble. So, with that, let's see what we can find. Yeah, I have some like crappy Bristol board. It got wet, so it got warped, hence the crappiness. But it's a lot heftier. I don't know. Let's just jump into doing it on the charcoal paper, and then if I don't like it, I can always do something different. All right. I think we're gonna work up on this side. I see a little dent in the paper, and since this is for someone else, I don't want to give them a shitty piece of paper. Okay. So I'm not gonna mark out my final picture thing, like the cut lines yet, because I'm gonna draw, or I'm gonna trace it onto here first, and then from that measure out my 8x10 size, so that way if I place it slightly wrong, I don't have to erase and then have the risk of pencil lines. So what I did earlier was I drew out, I think I can show you part of the process of how I did this. So I measured out, explaining things. I want the paper to be 8x10 finished. So I want about an inch border around where my molecule will end up being. And so I measured out hexes basically for how wide my molecule is going to end up being. So I made a little tiny hex. It's 7/8 wide, and use that to measure out. My molecule is basically going to be 9 molecules wide, or 9 hexes wide. Why am I so incredibly bad at explaining things? So that was my unit of measure, is this little hex. And then from there, I used just a compass to create my atoms. Yeah, that's it. Not a whole lot to explain, but all I did was trace it on the one side. So what I need to do is flip it over and retrace it from the other side. So that way when I flip it back over and put it on the paper, the correct orientation is transferred onto the final paper. Otherwise, if I just flip it over and put it on there, it's going to be a mirrored molecule, which is not what I want. is the, I don't know. It's like, if you don't know how tracing works, let me explain it to you. I need a different sheet of paper in between though, because I can't see. It's one of the bad things about working on a dark surface is I can't see. This might work. All right. So I expect you probably want to see more of the action. So I'm gonna move you back down. So sorry about all the sounds. One of these days I'm gonna get a really cool setup. Sorry, I gotta like flip you around. And you're gonna be like, I knew her when her setup was fucking janky as hell. One of these days. All right, let's fix this. How do I want to do this? I don't want to have too many extra lines. So like when I was drawing this, I drew my entire line and then drew the circle around it. So I'm just going to draw the connecting lines so I don't have a whole ton of extra marks that I'll have to erase. I don't know how I'm going to do that. And I was trying to decide whether I wanted to do small atoms or bigger atoms. I decided on the bigger ones. I think it'll be more color on the page, and I just wanted to do that more. I feel like the traditional ball and stick looks okay, but I wanted to make it a little bit more chunky. But because of that, the atoms are closer together, and so when you have the little, that was a really bad one, indication marks to show it's going back in space, it's a lot closer together now, so I don't know if I'll just ignore that and just do a regular line. I don't know. The other thing I could do is completely ignore the lines altogether and omit them and just do the atoms. And the cat is being a poop. We have like, what is it? It's like foam tape around the door, like the door frame, so when it shuts, it seals it off nicer. And he has been clawing his little claws in the crack and ripping out the foam, making a mess, so I might have to deal with the cat once again. Per usual. So a funny thing happened today. It happens periodically, but we have like a new housing development that went up over the last year and a half. I want to say it was about a year and a half. And the street that we live on continues in that new housing development, but there's houses in the way. So it's like having two different streets, but they named them the same thing. So there's a house over there that has almost the same exact number as it's just off by one number. And so periodically people will get lost trying to find that house, and they'll try to make deliveries to our house. And we're like, no, 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 this is not for us. And that happened today, and somebody tried to drop off this like huge package, and I just like heard the truck from in the garage. I'm like, what are they doing outside? And then I yelled at my husband. I'm like, did you order something really big? And he's like, no. And so I just opened up the front door, and they had it leaning up against our house already, and we're like ready to leave. I'm like, hey, I think you have the wrong house. They're like, oh. And they looked at their paper again. Yeah, it's the wrong number. I'm like, you had to have looked at the house number and the paper before you got out of the truck. Like, were you just gonna leave that? That's okay. I mean, we're the sort of people that would have, you know, brought it over to the other people, or at least walked to their house and been like, hey, this got dropped off for you, but we can't move it. So, but it was just the idea, like, hey, what are you guys doing? Because that ain't ours. It was just funny. It happens every now and then. And it's funny, I went on to, I think it was Google Maps, and updated it so that way it knows to like send people to that new housing development, and it has the new houses. But I don't know, I think it still sends people I don't know what app, like map programs these people are using. I also was not nosy enough. I did not look at the box to see like what it was. It was probably over 6 feet tall. Like, it was really long, and it was heavy enough that the guy needed a hand truck for it. So could have been like a treadmill or something like that. Also, I realized on my last stream when I was like, oh, I hope all of these are accurate. I'm not just like drawing these wrong. So I was doodling a bunch of molecules, and one of them was this one, folate, and the little note card that I had, I apparently started it but didn't finish drawing the molecule, so when I drew it on stream, I drew an unfinished molecule. And so if anybody knows what folate looks like, I did it wrong. But I don't know how many people actually watched it and or cared enough to notice. But I was like, oh, of course. Of course. All right. Oops. What am I doing? Measure this guy. Oops. pencil is so worn out. Like, look at this thing. I feel like it's time to get a new pencil in here because this is annoying. It takes so much time. Oops, that's not the right box. That tip looks like it's ready to break. All right. R.I.P. pencil stump. Oh my God. There we go. Sometimes I'm just really, oh my God, I am just really bad at using a compass. Like, it would have looked better if I just sketched it. Oops. Every time it moves, I'm like, oh. Okay. I think I got them all. Guess we'll find out. So, just gonna kind of, oops, you can't even see what the hell I'm doing. So I'm just gonna center it widthwise. And there's gonna be paper waste, but that's okay. And I'm gonna move it up quite a bit because I wanna leave plenty of room for me to measure my 8 by 10. Come down a little. Okay. So now I have a couple choices. I can use my pencil to trace over it, or I can use just kind of any firm tipped item to rub it. I think I'm gonna get rid of the pencil lead, so I'll just push it in. So I just have the tip of the plastic pencil. I'm just gonna lightly trace, and then I'm gonna see how well that transfers. Okay, yeah, that's super faint. I don't even know if you can see that right there. Possibly not. But I don't want it to be super dark because I don't want to be able to see pencil marks. I don't want to have to erase a lot. I'm just gonna check to make sure I haven't missed any. It looks like I missed one line right here. Okay, and it's really important to like continuously keep pressure, because otherwise it's gonna move and get all weird. I love how I said that my, for my stream title, feeling chatty, and then I go silent. I'm just concentrating. Oh, I got my COVID booster on Sunday, and it had pretty much the same impact on me as the initial dose. I had Pfizer all 3 times, and the first time I had fatigue, nausea, chills, sweats, headache, all the good things. That was sarcasm if it wasn't apparent. And then the second dose, I think I only had the sore arm. I also had the sore arm in the first dose as well. And then this booster dose, it had been, I think, almost 7 months since I got my second dose. So I'm guessing just that time period was enough to wear off my, I don't know what to call it. But anyway, I had nausea, sweats, chills, headache. The headache seemed to last longer. Like, I don't remember how long the headache lasted the first time, but this time it lasted until today. So it's like, I would say Monday was the worst day. Tuesday, the headache continued most of the day. And then today, it's just like the remnant of a headache where, like, if you know, like when you bend over and then you stand up and you kind of feel like this rush, twingy kind of headache in your temples. It's kind of like that sort of headache. But it's mostly faded now, and yeah, I feel pretty much back to my normal self. It just really sucks, like, having to have such obnoxious symptoms for multiple days. And to be honest, I wouldn't swap it for getting COVID by any means. It's just unfortunate that if moving forward I have to do this every year, that I have to sacrifice 3 days of recovery, which I don't like. But hopefully as time goes by, we will get other treatments, and hopefully we'll be able to deal with it better and whatnot. But I don't know, it just sucks. And it's my husband does not have really any reaction to it. He had the sore arm, and this time around I think he said like just his armpit gland swelled up. Like that was the extent of his issue. But me, it like knocked me out all of Monday. I just slept on the couch and then woke up, was nauseous, and threw up in the shower. Good times. And yeah. Now all is well. Okay, so now we got that traced. And some of these came out a little bit darker than others. So I'm just going to lighten that up a bit. I don't even know how much. Oh yeah, you can see it a little bit. You're not just looking at what appears to be a blank piece of paper. I did actually do something. The plus side of like tracing ahead of time is you can easily like make additional copies of it, especially since this is such a simplistic design. Like it looks complicated because there's so many, you know, it's a specific structure, but like it's just shading spheres, so it's pretty simple to do. And this illustration is for a dietitian who works with like children and mothers and, you know, like families. And so I thought a folate molecule made sense for her. Okay. So, drink break. And tonight I'm just drinking orange juice, surprisingly. And honestly, I'm kind of curious, or like wondering, if part of the reason why I had so many symptoms was I just was so fatigued that I wasn't drinking and I wasn't thinking about how I needed to drink more water. And so maybe my headaches were worse, maybe my fatigue was worse because I wasn't hydrating enough. So if anybody's listening to this who hasn't gotten their booster yet and is going to, just friendly reminder, hydrate. It's super important. And I remember the nurse, or I think she was a nurse, the individual who gave me my second dose reminded me to hydrate, which I appreciated. She said drink plenty of water, you know, work out that arm, blah blah blah, and yada yada. And second dose, like I said, I didn't have that many symptoms anyway, but I'm curious if maybe I had fewer symptoms. Maybe it was the first. No, I feel like it was the second one. She told me to drink a lot of water. But I'm just wondering now if it helped in any way. Okay, so here comes the fun part where we actually get to start to color. So I chose, so for this one, I had done carmine red for the oxygens and jade green for the nitrogens, and then French gray 70% for the carbons, and then white for the hydrogens. So I was trying to keep in the normal color scheme of traditional ball and stick models. But the thing I don't like about this one is how bright the red is, and I want it to be a little bit more subdued so that way it doesn't stand out like a sore thumb. Like this kind of has a nice chill vibe, and then you get these like spicy hot atoms. I keep wanting to say balls, but I feel like every time I say that I'm just gonna giggle. So then I tested out blush pink to see what we thought about that, and I kind of felt like it wasn't spicy enough. Like I thought maybe it was a little too subdued. And so here I just added in a little bit of the carmine red to add a little more shadow to it. So I think for this one I'll start out with the blush pink, and then if I feel like it's not standing out enough or there's not enough shadow, like the jade and the French gray are dark enough that I don't need an additional color to make, oops, no! God damn it. It's one of the things I hate about colored pencils is I'm clumsy and I will do that all the time, and I will drop the tip onto my paper. Okay, so this might just be, Jesus Christ. And of course I do it on stream so then people get to see. Okay, this is what happens. People make mistakes. Anyway, the gray is dark enough, clearly, that I can just shade itself with that and then use the color of the paper as the highlight. Okay, so the blush pink being as light as it is, I might go in with a little bit of this just to make that shadow. But none of this matters because this is now garbage. Okay, so this will be maybe like, I'll do a list on my site as like a blemished illustration. Bargain art for everyone. Okay, so now I'm like, should I start over? Like I haven't started it yet. Okay, we'll just do it, and yeah, we'll just do it. Okay. And okay, so I have my tracing off to my left off screen so that way I can reference it for which atoms are which. And knowing me, I might just end up coloring in one wrong anyway, so I can't be mad at that spot. Okay, so we'll start over here. We've got a nitrogen, so it's gonna be jade green. I had to like look at the color again. I'm like, wait, what is this? Also, I'm gonna apologize because I know I'm gonna put my hand in the way. So what I did with the other illustration, and I posted a, what do you call it, Instagram reel of me drawing this thing. So it's just a time lapse of that. And so what I did is I just shaded them all in lightly, and then I went back in and added the little more contrast to make it look spherical. Okay, so that's what I'm planning on doing now. Okay, so we have 7 nitrogen total. We've got 6 there, and then there's one more right here. All right, cool. So now we can do the oxygen. I kind of want to sharpen this. I'm gonna put this directly on my illustration. It's probably not in focus at all. That's okay. Okay, oxygen. We have one right here. And then most of them are down here. We've got one coming off here. Also, this is supposed to be a double, and I don't know how I indicated that previously. I don't know that I did. Like with normal ball and stick models, you'd have like these two like curved pieces that connect instead of a straight stick. But I don't know if I want to do that. Okay, where are we at? I can't not look at that stupid spot. Okay. All right, oxygens, we have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cool. Got those, and now we can move on to carbons, which I probably should have sharpened this too. Where's my white pencil? not have left it out. I've been using Prismacolor colored pencils since I was in high school. I honestly haven't, like, once I discovered Prismacolor, or was introduced to them, I should say, I did not venture into any other colored pencils, but I'd be curious to know what other people's experiences are with other ones. My main complaint about Prismacolor is the leads break a lot, and I've heard that you can stick a pencil in the microwave. I've never done it, but I've heard that you can, and that it softens the lead and supposedly helps reduce breaks. Also, I love how my reflection was in the lid. I just noticed that because the stream is delayed. But yeah, that's my main complaint about Prismacolor pencils, is the leads tend to break easily, and sometimes I get a pencil where it's like every time I sharpen it breaks, and then I'll sharpen it again and it breaks, and I'm like, it can't possibly be my technique because I try to do it so carefully, but maybe I just got a really bad batch of pencils. I don't know, but I don't know if there are any other colored pencil brands out there that are superior, or if just better quality. I don't know. I just love the blendability of these pencils, and I just have stuck with them all these years. So I don't know if this is like worth talking about on here, but I don't know, I feel like it's on my mind. I have been spending a lot of time pondering about what I want to do with my YouTube channel, and I've been watching a lot of videos on, you know, people recommending things to do to get you know, more subscribers and building up your watch time and audience retention and that sort of thing. And I know that it makes sense to niche down and get a specific audience and cater to that audience and like create content specifically for that audience. Where my channel is at now is that I used it as kind of a space to experiment with different video content. And so I have some things related to dietetics, some things related to my ferrets, some things that are the things that got the most quantity-wise number of views, but certainly not the most watch time, were these 15 to 20 second long videos of measurements. So how many teaspoons are in a tablespoon? I just wanted to test that out. Like, would this get a lot of views in theory? Like, it's a common question. It's like a top Googled question. And the 3 videos that I put out have over, I think, 50 or 60,000 views. And again, they're not very much watch time, but I have been thinking for a while of like creating like a database style, well, I don't know if I should call it like, it would just be a channel devoted to that sort of content where it's just informational. Also, I am definitely smudging this pencil, like despite the fact that I tried to eliminate it, there's still smudge happening. Or at least I feel like there is. Maybe there's not. But anyway, yeah, I'm just trying to decide what I want to niche down to, because if I want to focus that channel specifically on art, or I don't know, navigating dietetics as an artist, because I'm like, I feel like I don't belong here kind of thing. And it might be helpful for other people who have that like imposter syndrome, like why am I here? So that's kind of where I'm leaning, but it's so hard to narrow it down. And I know that like a lot of people resist that, and that's why their channels don't grow and whatnot. Because you feel like if you, like, my thought process is like, oh, how many people are really going to be interested in listening to me talk about how dietetics is like hard to get through? And I mean, like, how many dietitians are there in the world that I'd be able to get enough views to make it a like sustainable channel? Like, I don't know how much interest, and then what value am I really providing them? What do I have to offer? There's that imposter syndrome. What do I have to offer? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. The thing that I like about dietetics and what attracted me to it is, the nutrition science is very interesting, but the potential for creativity and branching out from the traditional RD role is what I really liked. And I think back to the feeling I had when I first started in undergrad, that I was very confident and like excited about it. But then as time went on going through the program, I feel like as the amount of information that I needed to learn in a short amount of time piled on, I got less and less confident. And so I became less and less attracted to the field in general. And so these last couple years, after getting credentialed and finishing my internship and everything, I've had to really dig to find that that original interest out of necessity, because I really just cannot find like a role, at least locally, that suits me. So I kind of had to go rogue and start my own business. Because I almost took a clinical job, and like clinical is exactly what I never wanted to do. I'm like, but I have school debt and I need to pay this off. So it's been fun. I guess sharing that experience is something I could do on YouTube. But I don't know. I'm sure that it would, I don't know. I think I just need to commit to it and just do it. I just have this tendency to like convince myself that I've committed to something, and then partway through start to doubt it and second guess and think, oh wait, maybe I should do something different, and then I don't end up fully committing to it. There's just so many people that, like, the reason I said that, you know, there's a lot of potential within dietetics to get, like, creative and come up with something new is there's just so many people out there on the internet producing content with no credential and no real structured background. I'm sure they have lots of knowledge and things, but they're not licensed to practice nutrition, and I feel like people don't, I don't know, maybe I'm just projecting my own experience, but I didn't even know what a dietitian was before I started researching it as a career. And I feel like a lot of people don't know how to utilize a dietitian, and because of the way that I've observed dietitians talking to patients, we're so like not definitive, like there's never an absolute, and so it's not a very satisfying interaction, I feel like, sometimes for patients, because like if you look at commercials or ads or influencers online who fully try to like sell you on this idea of some sort of like health thing, whatever it is, whether it's a product or a diet or a food, whatever it is, they sell it to you with like such certainty that it's going to work, and so people are more willing to try that because it's so convincing. But science is not that definitive, and so I feel like people don't always take dietitians for their word, because they're like, you're not telling me what I want to hear. I don't know. That's just my thought. Don't take it for reality. I feel like these have slowly gotten darker as I moved over this way. So this is definitely going to be like a sample run. I'll do a better one. I kind of wish I had done this down there on that shitty end of the paper, but oh well. We'll have to get out a new sheet. All right, and I think I'm just gonna go right into shading these and just go back that way. And then I'll do the hydrogens, and then I'll trace it. And I might actually be able to get this draft done. I'll have to try to remember when I do the final version to put tracing paper or something down underneath my hand so I can, I don't know, maybe I'm imagining it, but I feel like I can see some smudge marks. Go back through and do nitrogens. Okay, now hydrogen. I don't know what I keep hearing. Like, I know they're in there playing violin, but I feel like I hear banging that is not them. I just got that, like, temple headache again. Probably from, like, hunching over and then sitting up straight. Hopefully by tomorrow it'll be completely gone. Like, it's been progressively getting better every day, but yeah, not a fan of that. So for the white, I'm doing opposite. Since the white is lighter than the paper, I'm doing the highlight and then fading down to the shadowed part. So it won't be like super easy to see, but since I'm tracing it in black, it'll be clear afterward. All right, so we have 19 hydrogen, so luckily they're small. starting to envision what I want to do for the sticks in between. And I'm wondering if I should just do the black line. I just want to pause for a second and get this thought out. Say we got our thing. So we'll have our skinny marker. It's gonna go around. I really need to get a new one of these because it's, especially going over these waxy colored pencils, it's kind of not drawn the way it used to. Also, I don't know what it is about being out here and talking on stream. Must be the way I talk or the way I breathe or something, but I get all stuffed up. So I get all nasally and froggy. Alright, so instead of doing like that, like a little bit of gray with the marker outline, what if I just did a single little line, and then if there's a double, I don't know, that might be too, I don't know, I like how delicate it looks. I don't know, we'll think about it. Maybe it's the cat scratching at the door upstairs? I don't know, I'm trying to like, just like, if it is the cat, I don't know what I'm gonna go inside to. Like, is there gonna be something destroyed? Maybe I should let him out here. I just know he's gonna get into trouble out here. But if he's stressed inside, because I know he doesn't like the violin, there's not many places for him to go. What time is it? 7:10. Okay. I might not be able to get this done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay. Didn't miss any. Let's trace what we can. This is one of the more challenging parts because it's such a fine pencil and the paper is rather textured. So it's a little hard to get a good circle. I almost feel like I need to put the marker in the compass. But I feel like that is just a recipe for a mess. I also don't know if I should just commit to a thicker pen. Like I wanted the lines to just be dainty little lines, but they just look so squiggly wiggly that I don't know that it's the best look. However, since this is a test one anyway, oops, I tilted you on accident. We can just go ahead with, so I was using a 005, but I'm gonna switch to a 03 and see how that goes. Again, sorry my hand's in the way, it's just what's gonna happen. Put you over here. I don't know how much you can hear, so I'm just gonna mute this just in case. Okay, their violin lesson was wrapping up and they were talking outside the door, so I didn't want them to be overheard without consent. I don't know. They're not saying anything particularly personal, but you never know. So I don't love how bold the black line is. I really liked how delicate the thin line was, so I mean, honestly, I kind of like it just like this with no outline whatsoever. I just liked how this one turned out, which is why I went ahead and did the outline. But I don't know, I can always list this on my site if somebody's interested in it and whatnot. And it might be just one of those things where I'm expecting one thing, and since I have a specific vision in mind and it's not turning out exactly like that, that I don't love it. But if I put it aside for a few months and then come back to it, I'll be like, oh yeah, I like that. So it might catch somebody else's eye and be exactly what they want. So with that, I am going to, I mean, I didn't set up this whole ring light for nothing, so let me put you back. All right, so we're gonna call it, put my glasses back on. Yeah, thanks for hanging out. I always appreciate the lurkers I get. I forgot to mention at the beginning of the stream, but if you haven't already, give me a follow. My goal is to hit 10 by the end of the year. So if you're interested in, you know, continuing watching this content, just throw a follow my way. It doesn't cost you anything, and I appreciate it. But yeah, I will probably be back later this week at some point. I still need to finish painting that t-shirt, obviously, so we'll get to that eventually. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. I got nothing else. Awkward ending. Okay, bye. I have to walk all the way around to end the stream. Okay. Bye.